I'm making the Chao Garden game that I've always wanted to play. This is Bobo Bay, a pet simulation game where you collect, mash, accessorize, and train little creatures to compete in races and other competitions. Welcome to Devlog 0. Hello, I am Austin from New Future Kids, and I'd like to take you through what I've been working on for the past year and a half. Currently, I'm making almost the entire game by myself, but I do have a super talented musician named Luke Booth making the soundtrack. So starting off, I knew the most important thing is to provide that core Chao Garden experience to everybody. People have been wanting a game like this for years, so I knew my job was to take that formula that worked and expand upon it, rather than completely change it. I also couldn't forget that this game needs to appeal to people who've never even played or heard of Chao Garden before. Thankfully, there haven't been many games like this before, so it's made it super fun coming up with new interesting ideas that I think would pleasantly surprise players. When deciding what the core of Chao Garden was, I listed out the following things for myself. 1. Cute designs for the creatures. 2. Tons of customization possibilities. 3. Breeding. 4. Stat progression. 5. Races and fighting. And 6. Sonic. So the first several months of development was dedicated to creating that core Chao Garden experience, but then adding and changing things to make it a better experience. First off, I decided on this design for the default Bobo, which I felt was similar to a Chao, but still was its own unique thing. And I really loved what I landed on in terms of the eye design and the shader I used with it. This design would later allow me to make other forms that all kind of stem from this base design but still feel tied to the same species. Next, for customization, I 100% knew I wanted to have more possible combinations of Bobos than there are of unmodded Chao. So let's break it down a little bit. So in my game, I have 5 species of Bobos instead of the alignments that are in Chao Garden. Every species has 5 adult forms they can evolve into. There are 100 colors that are used for the primary, secondary, and eye colors. 4 sheens, like glowing, shiny, metal, and transparent. Patterns for the arms, legs, body, and head, they're all interchangeable, and you can mix and match them. Lots of blush lines, and different scales for all the limbs on the Bobo. On top of that, there are tons of accessories for their heads, face, back, and feet, and then animal crackers, which will actually give your Bobo animal parts for their head, upper face, lower face, back, feet, and arms. So I think I've provided a ton of ways to customize these Bobos. Players will have an awesome time finding and breeding for their perfect Bobo. And that leads into the next topic. Breeding, it works. Didn't really innovate too much on this right now. I just wanted to make it easier for the player, so it's done by buying an item for the black market currently. I even have a full genotype and allele system working for things like colors and patterns, so parents will pass down certain things, so it'll really make for a fun experience when you start trying to mash all these things together. And yeah, I decided to call it mashing instead of breeding. Breeding feels odd to me, so this will be how you mix and match colors and patterns and sheens and eyes from the different species. Stat progression is vital for this kind of game, and I chose to expand it in a few ways. First, I have my own progression system I built, so it's inspired by Chao, but it's different. I also have the following stats. I have strength, agility, run, acceleration, jump, swim, climb, and stamina. So this is obviously different than Chao. There's a couple more. And then all these stats will be improved by the use of snacks and competing at competitions. So competing will actually give your Bobo potential in different stats and allow them to reach higher levels of ability. Just make sure to evolve your Bobo so it reaches a higher total grade. There is a lot that goes into this, and maybe I'll go in depth with the progression system someday, but I think that'll need its own video. And yes, stats will also make visual changes on the Bobo, so add that on top of all the other customization possibilities. Every form and every species will have multiple mesh morphs depending on the stats as it gets older. Things like shape changes and extrusions are all part of it. Plus, a third color gets introduced. Next is my favorite part: competitions. So in Chao, there was racing and karate, and I knew for my game I needed to have both, at least. Nothing confirmed yet, but there might be other competitions as well in the future. The past year, I've just been focused on racing, but I will get to working on fighting eventually. I already have some fun ideas for it. For racing, I wanted to expand on it by having multiple maps to compete on, not just one. My goal is to make lots of unique maps that each have a ton of competition that take place on them. I also wanted to add more obstacles, so I have things like balance beams and breakable boards already added in. Then, possibly my favorite idea I've put into this game is the calendar system. I love calendars, I don't know why, not just in general, but in games. Something about looking forward to events on certain days in games is just always so fun to me. So think like Stardew Valley, but without the stress. My game runs on a 4-season calendar, and it allows me to put new competitions every day. So you lost a competition today? Well, you can't do it again for actually another week. So you have to plan for that. Or you want to do a swimming and climbing-based race? Well, there's one coming up in 3 days that you can train your Bobo for. So this will allow me to do a lot of fun things, and I can't wait for everyone to experience it. There are actually 2 types of competitions though, so trials and sagas. Trials are the ones that happen on a schedule, and any Bobo can do them. Sagas are a whole other deal. Imagine your singular Bobo trying to take on a single Bobo star with competitions that span over multiple lifetimes of that Bobo. More on that later. Also, look out for relay races where you can put up to 3 of your Bobos in one race. And the last of the core things, Sonic. So Sonic is not in my game. Sega isn't going to let that happen. In all seriousness though, when I say Sonic, I didn't just mean the character, but the platforming levels too. A lot of people think that Chao Garden only works because of the platformer being the main part of it. Now, this is definitely true for Chao Garden, I think, but it's my goal for Bobo Bay to make the pet sim the main part of the game. And by the time I'm done, this will truly be a fully fledged pet sim that doesn't need anything else. Plenty of pet sims are just pet sims, like Nintendogs. That's one of my favorite DS games. A lot of people that have been following the game have told me that they just wanted a Chao Garden game that was just Chao Garden. So if you want platforming levels, I'm sorry, it's not happening, but I hope you still give this a chance. Now, I don't have Sonic, but I did need a main character. So I created Miss Parfait Biggs. She's a zombie with a skeleton arm. Actually, everyone in the world is a zombie too. So more on that later, maybe. Okay. So that is all the core Chao Garden features, plus my additions. However, there's more my game has to offer. And the final thing I want to talk about today is how I make the Bobos feel unique, and not just cosmetically. If you've played RimWorld, I was inspired by its trade system. Now, RimWorld is nothing like this game, but I think the way they make all the pawns unique from each other is very interesting. So I did a similar thing in my game. There are actually different types of traits, and I'll list them all out. So we have main birth, hidden birth, item, stackable, affliction, moods, plus a variety of personality modifications. I think the best way to explain what traits are is to just show them. So here are some examples. Slipstream is a main birth trait that allows your Bobo to gain speed when running behind another Bobo. If you give your Bobo a steel chair, they get the rough and tumble trait, which allows them to drop kick other Bobos in races. Afflictions include things like sicknesses. So an example of an affliction is Boo Boo Foot, where your Bobo loses a foot and gets a huge debuff in their run and acceleration. Embarrassed is a mood your Bobo can get in, depending on their emotions. This will make them run away from the player and not want to get picked up. Sore Loser is a hidden birth trait, where your Bobo will be stuck in the angry mood for 3 days if they ever lose a competition. Then things like personality mods will influence things like if your Bobo can eat 2 or 3 snacks a day, how long they sit for, if they like talking to friends, and if they get angry or excited when you throw them. Every Bobo will have a combination of several traits, and it adds a ton of variety and adds a fun spin to taking care of your Bobos. I'm pumped to see how people discover all the traits I have in store. But the fun doesn't stop there with the Bobos though, so every Bobo also has a best friend and a rival. Best friends will hang out with them the most in the garden, and rivals will pop up in competitions over the entire lifetime of a Bobo. I'd love to show more, but I think this video already showed enough for now. Stay tuned for more. Something big that I'll be building out here soon is the town, which is going to be where you actually go to shop, and there'll be different events based on the calendar. I won't go into all of it. I'm just really excited about that because it's like a huge part of the game is this town that you can visit. I am releasing a demo in the next few months, so please like, comment, subscribe, follow my TikTok, follow my Twitter, join the Discord. Help me get notified about when that demo releases. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.